My progress, let's share my screen here. I mean, I've been working on a few things. One of the things worth, I think, at least just sharing is my journey on understanding GitHub. I always knew it was out there, but I'd never really tried to use it with any great vigilance. So I spent time to do a couple things, and that was to get VS Code installed and used, and to use that at the same time to manage the code that was on my desktop, as well as push it up to GitHub. So I just was playing around with that and put a couple of things out there and intend on adding more. But the first two things that I practiced were to I need a mode switch on my remote control that would give me three settings. And before you yell at me, hold on, let me put this link in the chat. Are you still there, Jeff?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So at a high level, I'm still working on trying to get my remote control working and trying to use these TTGO boards to do that. One of the things that I need to be able to do is to be able to say, are we in auto mode or manual mode? Excuse me. And to do that, I was going to use a simple toggle switch. And I learned that if you put a couple of resistors on this toggle switch, you can read different ADC readings off that toggle switch, and then you can associate that with, physically, is the switch down or in the middle or in the up state, and then obviously ultimately assign attributes to that. So I just used this as a test to, as you can see, learn how to take a picture and post it to the README. Now, you might think, knucklehead, that's easy. Well, if you know how to do it, it's easy. So, all of this stuff sits in VS Code on my machine, and was able to push it up to GitHub, which I think is pretty cool because it makes it easier to share with you and to document it a little bit along the way. And so this is the actual source code to read that and to print out the different modes. So that was my hello world with putting something on GitHub. The next thing I put up there is around is that pointing to the wrong thing? No, that's right. The publishing, so that data previously was just a serial print, and this next project, and the notion would be they'd be in ever more complexity. This one actually presents it on the OLDs, or this screen, the LED screen. Come on, render that better than you're rendering it. Why are you doing a crappy job of rendering that? I click on that, I should be presented with that image, and I should be able to scroll.
Can you just zoom out a little bit? Oh, I guess if that's what you want to show, you should be zoomed in like that.
Yeah, I just wanted to show that this is the OLED screen. I mean, the reason why there's nothing there is because I guess it's actually flashes and showing it, but trust me, it actually does present. And so the code, well, you can, so like there's a little toggle switch, and this is version 0 of the remote control, but it's reading these pods and reading that toggle switch and presenting on the OLED a couple of pieces of data. And so interesting using VS Code, a couple of compiler things. You got to put this void statement up here so the compiler knows that, you know, there's going to be a function later on. I mean, the Arduino IDE, I guess, handled that kind of stuff for you. You didn't have to do that. So there's some idiosyncrasies about using VS Code and programming these boards. So I guess it's worth noting, I'm also using PlatformIO. So it's VS Code with the PlatformIO add-on to actually get this program up to the TTGO board. So that's been, and the loop is pretty straightforward. Get to read the sensors, display it on the OLED, and also at the same time print results. So tried to keep the loop really simple and just have it be called to functions that hopefully I can cut and paste and use in different areas. So that's been the that's what I have been spending time on. So you can put images out here on the README. You can. So I've just been playing around with what to actually put out there. One other thing to mention, when you use PlatformIO with this, you've also got a, that's where you set your, if you're doing display or prints to the serial monitor, you set your monitor speed inside of this environmental function in PlatformIO. That one looks like, and this OLED requires an additional library, and so you, inside of PlatformIO, you need to, you can't just put it in the source code. You've also got to do some dependencies in the PlatformIO INI file. So just a few idiosyncrasies to learn about trying to use VS Code and PlatformIO to program these boards. That's what I got. Any questions or thought about any of that?
Those OLEDs, do you know anything? Do those have a lifetime to those, or should they just last forever?
I haven't heard anybody comment on them. I mean, I've seen other displays like that, that if you, they will have a memory, a visual memory. So if you keep posting the same thing in the same spot, you'll burn it into it. I don't know if that's the case on these or not.
I've never played with those, so I don't know how they work. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think I got these less about the screen and the display and more about it was a board that had LoRa on it and enough pins so far at least to handle it. So I've forgotten how I come up with that, ended up with that board. Probably because it was an ESP LoRa board, and that's just who was making it at the time. So anyway, it's been fun. I've enjoyed getting this to a place where it's easy then to share it instead of the GIST Google Drive thing. So, and then to sort of integrate images and having like a hyperlink just to get to the source code. Like, just get me to the source code. Don't make me go source and main and that sort of thing just lets you hyperlink to it. So next step is to put the send and receive function out there and keep pushing ahead.
So on your GitHub page, do you just go out on the internet and edit this stuff, or do you actually create the project, then you check it out on your computer, you make changes, then do a push to put it back up? What order are you doing there?
So I'm using VS Code as the IDE. And it has yeah, I'm just using this. I don't do anything on GitHub. I do everything through VS Code. And once I'm satisfied with the file, there's effectively about 3 clicks to push it up to GitHub. You have to press here and what do they call it? Stage it, maybe. And then you have to commit it, and you type a statement in this box when you commit it, and then you go to one of these menu items and push it. So it's stage, commit, push, I think are the three steps, but you do all of that through VS Code. Now, like, can I get to my OneNote? Let me stop sharing for a second, because there was one particular video that I got. Probably watched 3 or 4 different videos, but there was one particular one that was very helpful in laying out how he did it. Let me get to that URL here. Bear with me a second. So back to share. Let's see. Is this him? PlatformIO. VS Code. I'll put this in the chat. Oh shoot, I just got the title. Where did that go? Did it open? Oh, for goodness. Yeah, this is the one. If there was one that I was gonna watch, this guy does the best job of the ones that I saw. Now that's doing a timestamp of starting at 3:29, which you can watch the whole thing, but he was really helpful in like explaining what your local file structure will be, and then getting that up into GitHub. The random nerds guy, he has an explanation around using PlatformIO, which was helpful as well. And not remembering why I saved that one, but those are the two that were really helpful to me. And then playing around with the README files to get those to display was just a number just from Google searches and trying to, I guess that's a whole nother language that I'm probably just, I haven't even scratched the surface yet. What's going on in your world?
Oh, I really haven't gotten much done. I did take the bracket off my lawn tractor for the steering motor because it was interfering with something else. I took my angle grinder and ground off a couple welds and knocked off the brace on the end. And I thought, well, when I go to where I want, I can just weld that back on. But in the meantime, I just drilled 2 holes so I can bolt it into the slots that are already there. And that's about all I got done this last week, was doing that and just thinking more about how to mount that on there. Maybe if I have the ambition today, I'll go out and poke at it and drill some holes and do some welding, and maybe get that. If I get that motor bolted on solidly, then I can put the gas tank back on, and then I can move on with it again and try to get something done.
Welding, that's cool. I wish I knew how to weld. Well, I had the equipment and had space. There's such permanence and strength associated with that.
Basically, the welding just point and shoot once you get everything set up. So it's just, then it takes a little bit of practice to get it so it'll do a decent job, or I should say a usable job, not really a decent job. So if I get some time and ambition today, I might go out and try that.
That sounds cool.
Other than that, I guess I got nothing to report.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I think that's how the devil gets me, is like changes. I don't stay focused, and so now I'm off like futzing with this GitHub thing, and like stay focused. But anyway, it is helpful to I think this Visual Studio Code thing as an editor definitely makes that easier, and it came with a learning curve and frustration curve, but now that I can like get a program up and I understand the libraries and how to get libraries working and stuff, it's hopefully that learning curve is behind me. Well, okay, man. looking through my other notes if there's anything else that spent time on that is worth sharing. Because I would like to monitor the battery level and get my 3D print of my remote control organized, and not sure if I have any more pictures of that at the moment, but
Those lithium ion batteries that you have, do you have a battery holder those snap into? So it's just like a AA battery holder, but it's just a bigger one? Or are you actually welding on the end of them like people will do? Yeah, it looks
Are
like
you
you have a
seeing-
battery holder there they stick in.
so you're seeing my screen, right?
Yes, I am.
So the black stuff is just 3D printed. Obviously, the wire, I purchased these contacts, and you just, solder the wire on and make it work. So, I mean, you print it to accommodate an 18650 battery, and there's a little bit of monkeying around to get the distance right. So the tension on the spring was what I thought was good, but I mean, it's all custom in the sense of when you're 3D printing and designing that, you have to know what the specs are, and the specs for this distance and width and length are different than obviously a AA battery. You probably use these connectors for a AA, but they were designed for 18650s.
I just assumed you bought that whole thing off the shelf. I didn't realize you 3D printed. I guess if you've got a 3D printer, you could print up screws and everything if you needed to.
Yeah, if you want to, you just have to have the time and patience to do the design, because that's a whole nother kettle of fish to learn that language, which is, it's definitely a language. But you could do this whole thing with, well, no, I guess you couldn't. I don't know if you could. I guess you can't. Or do they have lithium ion AA batteries? I don't. Because when you plug in here, you can't see it, but there's a, you get a positive and negative cord that comes out of there. I don't know how that would work. I guess it's going to charge it until it gets to 4.2 volts, whatever kind of battery you have in there.
Are those 18650 batteries you got?
They are.
Well, let's see here. What screen here? This is the kind of design I do. I just go out now. I just buy one that they fit in, so I wouldn't have to 3D print anything.
Oh, they even give you a series or parallel. That's pretty cool.
That's why it surprised me when you said you 3D printed the actual housing, the actual plastic part of it. So, but yeah, so you can either get single ones or multiple, and you just say either series or parallel.
There you go. Save yourself from having to print it.
I have a 3D printer somewhere, but I've never actually used it, so I don't know if I have the ambition to try it or not. And it's something that they put out on Kickstarter, and I ordered it, and I some guy said, hey, can you bring your printer over? I need to print something up. So I took my printer over to his house, and it said you had to update the software. And it's a good thing we did, because the software download was only good for like another month or so, and then it was going to go away completely. And so he printed something up and used it, but I've never actually done anything with it. So if it breaks, that's probably the end of it. So, you know, if anything happens to it, that'll be the end of that printer. So I haven't really invested any time in it.
Well, hopefully it's a little bit more resilient than that, but I mean, hopefully they use plug and play parts.
Well, they're not plug and play parts, because they built the whole thing, you know, custom designed the whole thing and sold it on Kickstarter. So that was the deal. So if it quits, it's probably dead. But I didn't pay very much for it. I paid like $99 for it or something. Whatever.
Wow,
whatever it
no,
was
that's
at the
a,
time.
yeah, that's an inexpensive 3D printer. But I think you can get good ones for not much more than that. So,
But as you say,
so
it's
yeah,
another-
comes in handy, but it's another time drain too to design all that. Anyway, that's what's going on in my world.
yeah, I guess I can't think of anything else either. So